I swear to you the first 3 sentences of this story are going to sound like I'm making it up, but I'm not at Maxwell Harrington's giant glass palace by the lake. The staff actually pulled me aside my very first morning and told me flat out, "Don't go near the little girl in the West Wing." Can you imagine that? Being warned away from a 7-year-old like she was some kind of cursed object in a horror movie? And they said it with this smug little smirk like they already knew I was going to be tossed out in less than a week. Just like all the nannies before me, yeah, that happened. And that was the hook. I didn't even know I was hanging on. So I walked into that estate with my thrift store sneakers squeaking on polished marble, this plain gray sweater that made me look like a shadow against those crystal chandeliers, and a canvas bag, so small you'd laugh if you saw it, a change of clothes, a water bottle, nothing fancy. Grayson, the head butler, this wiry man with a face like a sour lemon in a suit probably older than me, shoved a schedule at me and basically scolded me like a child. "Floors and windows and linens, that's your world, Miss Carter. The young lady's none of your business." And just like that, he pointed toward Clara's wing and turned his back on me like I was invisible. The other maids brushed by, aprons sharp and white, whispering with those sideways glances, "She'll be gone by Friday, watch." I kept walking, my jaw tight but my pace steady, because when you grow up the way I did, you learn quick that if you let every little dig land, you'll collapse before you get through breakfast. The kitchen staff had their own brand of cruelty too. Marcus, the chef with arms like tree trunks, twirled his spatula like a scepter and shouted across the room, "Hey, new girl, trying to scrub your way into high society, or just take a wrong turn on your way to the poorhouse?" The room erupted, one guy tugging his shirt to mimic my sweater, the laughter echoing off marble walls, and I just looked Marcus dead in the eye and said quietly, "I'm just here to do my job." And I swear the way his laugh died mid-throat was more satisfying than any comeback could have been. You ever been in a room where people decide who you are before you even open your mouth? Yeah, that was me every hallway I walked. Cheryl, one of the senior maids, loved to talk loud enough so her digs hit like darts. "Did you see her shoes? Thrift store chic. How charming." The security guy Greg snickered that I probably got lost on my way to the bus stop. I didn't look up. I just ate my eggs and toast and set my fork down so deliberately it shut Cheryl up mid-giggle, because sometimes silence slices sharper than words. And yet, and this is where things started to shift, Clara, the girl they told me to stay away from, noticed me. At first it was just curiosity, little glances from her chair, while Denise the nurse barked at me to keep moving. I'd wiped down her room, soft blue walls and a view of the lake, pretending not to see her watching me. And one afternoon I dropped a rag and, out of habit, spun and scooped it up with the kind of movement you don't unlearn when you've spent your childhood as a gymnast. Clara's eyes locked on me like she'd just seen magic. I said, casual as I could, "Movement can be a kind of game, you know." She didn't answer, but her gaze never left me. Now Maxwell, the man himself, tall and carved from stone, caught me near the library one morning and accused me in that low, icy voice of feeding Clara false hope. "The best doctors in the world have seen her," he said. "Don't undo their work with your games." I bowed my head, said, "Understood," but inside I was burning. Because what he called false hope, I called a spark, and if you've ever seen a spark in the eyes of a child who's been told she'll never move, you don't snuff that out. You protect it with everything you have. Of course Denise wasn't having it. She stormed into staff meetings, clipboard shaking, warning that I was violating medical orders, and Grayson handed me a termination notice within a week. That should have been the end of it. Bag packed, reputation trashed, staff smirking that they were right again. But Clara heard, and Clara cried, and I told her I'd stay till nightfall. That's when everything flipped. The house was quiet, the piano in the living room untouched since Clara's mother died, and I sat down and played her lullaby, the one her mom used to sing. Clara wheeled herself closer, hands trembling on the armrests, and as the music swelled, she did what no one believed she could. She stood, shaky, terrified, but she stood and took one step, then another. Maxwell was frozen at the top of the stairs, the staff hushed in the doorway, Denise shrieking about broken ankles, and Clara whispered, "Daddy, I want to go to her." She collapsed into my arms, and I told her, "You did it," while the whole damn mansion held its breath. Here's the twist you didn't see coming. One of the quiet maids, Sarah, had been filming, and she sent it to the staff chat. By morning Denise was gone, caught for falsifying her credentials, and Maxwell slid a new contract across his desk, not maid, not servant, but coach. Coach to his daughter. And you better believe the house flipped upside down. Cheryl's old tweets mocking coworkers surfaced, and she lost her boutique sponsor. Greg the guard was stripped of his badge for sleeping through shifts. Marcus the chef couldn't even look me in the eye anymore. But me? I kept my sweater, my sneakers, my silence. Because respect, when it finally comes, isn't about changing your clothes. It's about standing steady until the walls of that mansion admit they were wrong. So Clara kept walking, step by trembling step, her laughter echoing in halls that once sneered at her. Maxwell softened, just a little, watching from doorways with eyes that caught the light. And me? I stayed exactly who I was, steady, quiet, believing that sometimes the smallest defiance is the loudest roar. Now, people will argue this forever. Was I reckless, pushing a fragile child past her limits, defying every doctor, every rule, every order? Or was I right, proving that sometimes rules are just chains meant to keep people from trying? That's the line, right there, between recklessness and faith. So tell me, where do you stand? Was it wrong to risk hope, or wronger still to deny it? Drop your thoughts below, fight it out, because these aren't just stories in some rich man's mansion. These are choices we all face: when to bow, when to defy, and when to believe in a spark no one else can see.